Hello, this is Claus Jensen presenting the second game of the candidates' final match between Boris Gelfand and Alexander Grischuk. And this was surely one of the most exciting games in the candidate matches so far. So please enjoy Gelfand playing the white pieces and Grischuk playing black, and the game starts knight f3, c5, c4, and Gelfand plays like Kramnik did against Grischuk, knight c6, knight c3, e5, g3, g6, bishop g2, bishop g7, a symmetrical English, soon with a twist as Gelfand now plays a3, knight ge7, and then the surprising b4. But Grischuk, who normally spends a lot of time also in the opening, seems to know this, so he responds d5 fairly quickly. C takes d5, knight takes d5. White has tried knight takes d5 here on a few occasions, but after queen takes d5, bishop b2, castles, castles, and e4, black is simply better. So Gelfand has prepared the interesting knight g5, attacking the knight on d5, and Grischuk could have opted to simplify here. Knight takes c3, d takes, and queen exchange on d1, and castle. And I'm sure a player like Kramnik would have chosen this dull line, and the game would soon be drawn. But fortunately, Grischuk wasn't afraid of a fight, so he played knight c7 instead in this position. And it's already a very interesting position. Lots of open lines and possibilities for both sides. d3 came from Gelfand, c takes b4, a takes b4, and e4. And this is looking very unpleasant for Gelfand. The unprotected knight is not only attacked by Grischuk's strong bishop, it's also pinned to the rook. But Gelfand has something very interesting prepared here, a piece sack. He plays knight g takes e4, defending the c3 knight momentarily because it's chased away by f5. But then comes the in-between move bishop g5 and bishop takes c3, check, king f1. And this is crazy stuff. Gelfand has really shown that he's prepared to take risks in this game. Unfortunately for him, Grischuk seems very well prepared for this line. Queen d4, a line that has been suggested now here is bishop f6, forcing Grischuk to give up his queen after bishop takes a1, bishop takes d4, bishop takes d4, knight d6 check. Black has sufficient material for the queen, but white has compensation because the black king is in an open position. King e7, knight takes c8, rook 8, say c8. So white has some chances here. But Gelfand didn't play bishop f6. Instead, he played knight takes c3, queen takes c3, and bishop f4. And knight b5. And now Gelfand activates his rook with tempo and prepares a trick on e5. So he plays rook c1 here. And queen takes b4 here from Grischuk would lead to the very nice rook takes c6, b takes, and bishop takes c6, and the rook on a8 is also falling, so that doesn't work. So instead Grischuk has to play queen f6, rook c5, and here a move like moving the knight to d4 doesn't work because of b5. So Grischuk here plays a6, and then came bishop takes c6, weakening the pawn structure on the queen side, and also making space for the king going to g2 at some point, and also making bishop e5 possible, and king f8, queen f8, sorry, and queen c1 followed from Gelfand. And also here is a little trick, because why not rook g8 here, removing the rook from the attack from the bishop? Probably because he didn't like rook takes b5, c takes, and queen c6 check. And after king f7 and queen takes the rook, Gelfand has won back his piece and is perhaps even slightly better in the resulting endgame. A line could be queen takes b4, but then follows a few checks, and white can grab the pawn on a6 and is probably slightly better. So instead of moving the rook, Grischuk simply played bishop d7 here, and then Gelfand could have played queen c4 here. in fact, this is has been suggested by GM Nightich, because now Rook G8 doesn't work because Bishop F6, and then the threat is Rook E5 check, and now white is winning. Bishop C8, for example, then Rook E5 check, and black has to give up his queen to avoid a mate, because a mate would be a reality after Rook A7, Queen takes F6, and Queen takes G8, Queen F8, and Queen takes. So after a move like Queen C4, Rook G8 is not possible. But Gelfand took the Rook on H8 in the game, Queen takes, and it's still an interesting position, and it's not so easy to judge who's better. So let's just call it unclear. What is clear, on the other hand, is that Gelfand has to activate the Rook on H1. And I think the most logical move here was King G2 to liberate the Rook there. But Gelfand instead played Queen E3 check. And King F7 followed, and it doesn't really improve Gelfand's position to play Queen E3 check, and the black king had to go to F7 sooner or later anyway. So a strange decision by Gelfand in this position. And then came Rook E5, and the threat here is Rook E7. And Grischuk has a choice to make on how to deal with this threat. Rook E8 was a possibility, but after Rook takes and Bishop takes E8, it's of course playable. But Grischuk's Queen F8 seems to be better, and we shall see why. Because Queen F8 here, and the idea from Grischuk here is that the queen attacks the pawn on B4 from F8. H4 was played by Gelfand. He is planning H5 to activate the Rook, and now Grischuk could have taken the pawn on B4 in fact. Then would surely have followed H5, G5, Queen takes, Queen D6, Rook takes F5, is giving white some chances by giving up his Rook here, because the king is very open, and this should be compensation for white. Perhaps Grischuk didn't like this, so instead he just played H5 to prevent Gelfand from playing H5. And now Gelfand has to protect the pawn on B4, so he plays Queen F4. Queen D6, and white's position is awkward because the Rook is certainly not feeling comfortable on E5, and furthermore black threatens King F6, and then the queens will be off the board. King G2, King F6, and now Gelfand has to decide where to put his Rook. He has a choice between two evils. Either he can play the Rook to the best square, which is C5, and then accept a weakened pawn structure after the queen exchange on F4. Or he can keep the pawn structure, but then accept that his Rook will be awfully placed on F4. And Gelfand chose the latter option, so he played Rook E4. Queen takes and Rook takes, and Bishop E6 is taking away the C4 square for the Rook. So now the Rook on F4 is very poorly placed here, and it will take a E4 push, or perhaps even also a G4 push, to liberate this Rook. And this is what Gelfand is trying to do over the next moves here. So first came Rook C1, King E7, and then F3, a logical part of the Rook rescue plan, preparing E4 and perhaps also G4. King D6, King F2, Rook B8, and then came E4. Knight to C7. Again, Grischuk attacks the B4 pawn. G4. Gelfand uses all resources on liberating the Rook, and it's a funny position here with the Rook having no squares, although it's in the middle of the board. F takes G4 and Rook F6. G takes F3, Rook takes G6, Rook takes B4, and Rook H6. And Gelfand has activated the Rook, but Grischuk still has two minor pieces for a Rook, and he has a dangerous passer in the A file. And can he win this position? GM Shipov has suggested Rook B3 in this position, but still it isn't quite clear if black can win. So Rook takes H5, Rook takes D3, Rook H to C5, Bishop D7 protecting the C6 pawn, and H5 is still a very complicated endgame. But Grischuk didn't play rook b3. He played a5 instead, trying to push his passed pawn immediately. Rook takes h5 and a4. Rook h to c5. Bishop defends the c6 pawn, and king takes f3. And compared to the Shiphoff line I gave a few moves ago, Gelfand is of course far better off here. So perhaps rook b3 on the 37th move was the best chance for Grischuk to win the game. Now came knight e6, and here it seems that rook a5 is the strongest move because it keeps the rook active. But in the game, Gelfand plays rook 5 to c4, and then comes c5, and now the rook on c4 is a little passively placed here, and of course it cannot take because that would give black connected passed pawns. h5, rook b2, and Gelfand cannot allow Grischuk a rook in the h-file, so rook h1 is forced. Then came knight d4 check, king e3, and now Grischuk sees a mate and plays bishop e6, with the idea that if rook takes a4, then king e5, threatening rook e2 checkmate. But in fact, Gelfand can save himself here still by playing rook takes d4, c takes d4, king f3, rook d2, h6, rook takes d3, king f2, bishop g8, h7, bishop takes, rook takes, and save the game this way. But it's of course extremely difficult to calculate such a line over the board, and Gelfand found another solution to the mate threat. So instead of taking there on a4, he played e5 check. Very interesting. And then came, of course, king takes, and then rook takes c5 check, bishop d5, and now he has to give up his rook for the bishop, but he has some counterplay with the h-pawn still, and he hopes, of course, this will provide enough counterplay. Rook e2 check, king f4, knight e6 check, king g3, knight f8, h7, and now Grischuk has to give up his knight for the pawn. And now the question is, can Gelfand hold this rook endgame? And the answer is yes, he can, fairly easily. a3, king f3, rook e1, rook a7, rook a1, king e3, a2, rook a5 check, king c6, and now that he has been able to remove the black king, Gelfand hides his king behind his pawn to avoid a check from the rook, and then he can just keep his rook in the a file, and Grischuk can do nothing. So king b6 followed, rook a8, king b7, and here a draw was agreed. It was a very exciting game, probably the most exciting so far in the candidate matches. Gelfand really pushed hard in the opening by creating lots of complications and even sacking a piece. Grischuk was well prepared and made all the right decisions, and he clearly had the edge through the middle game. Gelfand fought immaculately to keep the game balanced, and he managed to get the draw in the end. I hope you enjoyed the drama in this second game of the candidates' final match between Boris Gelfand and Alexander Grischuk, and I hope to see you on my blog at klausjensen.com. Bye bye for now.